Jeff? Go ahead, Jeff.
Do I have to? Okay. So I share and then you guys share, is that? I mean, I just go into presentation and you let me know when. And folks at home can see.
Yes, we can get full screen.
All right, good. Okay, mine is New York City, so not real far away to travel, but really neat destination with lots of opportunity. I went in June and in August. June was a free conference from B&H Photo, so highly recommend that. It's a 4-day conference, and some of these photos were either at the conference, at the activities, or just wandering the city. So a couple areas I wanted to cover. First, World Trade Center. So if you haven't been there recently, or it's really neat things, this is where you come off the main transportation hub in New York, either the train or the subway. So this is called the Oculus. Just really neat architecture and opportunities for photos. I love the ribbing. It just adds a really neat look. And also outside, they're almost like wings. And those, along with the other buildings, kind of make neat lines. Really like that. And as well as in front of the World Trade Center, kind of liked how they intersected. Out around the pools, there are pools with names. So all the names of the folks that had died in the World Trade Center are honored. And every day they place a rose on that person's every birthday, they place a rose for that person. This day was Flag Day, so they replaced flags instead. Also, we went in the museum this time. If you've never been in the 9/11 museum, extremely moving. And since yesterday was that, I included this one. And that day had some youth attending that are taking EMS training. So they attended to learn more about the folks in the company. Another area that's sort of new over the last few years, Hudson Yards. Really neat area. There's Hudson Yards and there's a High Line, which is a walkway that goes about a mile, kind of like a boardwalk. This is the vessel. You used to be able to go up in it. Now you can't, because a couple people went up and jumped off. So they have it closed, but you can still go in the bottom and you can still get some shots across. I mean, the way I just love the colors and the way the shapes are in there. And just from the bottom looking up is really neat to see the sky and the other skyscrapers around it. Then from the High Line, as you're walking that mile, really neat architecture. So lots of things to see there, as well as murals. This is probably my favorite one, called Tolerance, and it's just Mother Teresa and Gandhi kind of meeting, and I like that one. They also have a lot of art installations along that you can see. This one was kind of different, but really neat installations. Yeah, another thing I like is black and white and opportunities for black and white and street photography. So this is the Brooklyn Bridge. And the Brooklyn Bridge from a street in Brooklyn. You can actually see the Empire State Building through the bottom of the bridge. Kind of really neat. And this, while we were taking photos, these folks were going to a prom. I just kind of liked how they kind of caught the light there. This is one of the street photographer. Oh, I think we have 4 minutes. I'll go a little quicker. I mean, 1 minute. Yeah. And just some of the other street photography. And the last section have our sunset and night landscapes. So lots of opportunity for color, for moonshots. This is from Brooklyn, looking across at Lower Manhattan. And just the way it pops next to the colors in the sky. This was from a cruise that they offered. And when we got off the cruise, you saw the moon next to the Empire State Building. So everybody got their cameras out there. And I tried to work to get some of the glassy sea look. And they do have national parks at night at this, helping people. And last one, this was the last trip I went on, just happened to be, and I forget the moon, one of the super moon kind of things, but it was coming off. I was in New Jersey, but we could see through the trees this, and that's it. So, thank you.
That was awesome, Jeff.
All right.
I think that would be great, Jeff, if you could consider leading a future trip next June to the next B&H conference, and we can have a photo shoot in New York City.
Well, it could happen. Yeah, we can figure that out. I kind of
All
go
right.
up for 4 days and I stay with friends, so we'll figure that out.
All right,
Good.
Tom is
Yeah.
next. Tom, are you ready to
All
go?
right. Stay. Next.
Next
Who's
is
next?
Tom.
Yeah, Jay, who's next?
Tom Story is next.
Ah,
Maybe Jeff has to unshare. No?
We're gonna run here first.
Jay, we want to run through who's here first.
Okay, all
As
right.
Tom's online. Tom's online. So Dutch is here, Sylvia's here. Who else? And Ivan.
Okay,
Who's
great.
on your list?
Dutch, well,
Dutch.
Dutch.
Dutch,
can
you're in
do
the front. I didn't say it. Dutch, when you hear my thing go off, dig up.
I hear you.
You need to put that mic on.
Here's the mic. And to get a picture up, do I just double click on the picture?
They're just JPEGs. Yeah.
They're JPEGs, yeah.
On it and very beautiful. And then I guess you can just use the arrow keys on your phone keyboard to go back.
Arrow keys, good.
So it's up there on the screen.
Okay. All right, good evening. Thanks for having me. I'm a new member here. My name is Dutch. I come from Elkins Park in Pennsylvania. And I like to travel back and forth to the Adirondacks. I do that every year. I will be going again. It's always late September to try to get the fall colors. And so I've really presented some of the ones I've taken for the last couple of years there. And I go up with the Adirondack Photography Institute that gives these annual, well, they give annual workshops up there. This is one of their intensive ones where we work 3 times a day. We go out to photograph, we come back, we show our photographs, we write about them, and we talk about them. And you don't do much of anything else except you eat and sleep and do what other necessary things you have to do there. So I really enjoy that. I'm a black and white photographer, architectural, especially New York. I love that. I go up on a train and just spend a day up there and photograph. And what was I going to say? So these are my only color photographs that I do. So hopefully they look somewhat decent. This first one, just some purple flowers while we're out on one day of our trip. And I just happened to get in close and those kind of things. The fall colors there are spectacular. Sometimes one year is better than another year. But this one, I like the circle of the red around the green and that contrast that appeared there. My next image was called Kaleidoscopic. And just the fall colors this particular year were just spectacular. The right time, the right place. Last year, probably came after I went up, and usually it's at the very end of September, so. This all takes place up in areas Lake Placid area, Shroom Lake, Lake 1, Lake 2, Lake 3, Lake 4, Lake 5, Lake 6, as it's actually called, Tupper Lake and so forth. And we go to different areas and photograph. And we're, like I say, we're out 3 times a day. And this particular one interested me because this is really pretty much close to the actual colors. They look a little bit off, but this particular day, whoops. Is that me? Okay. This particular day, this was taken around 7 p.m. in the evening on our way back, and those clouds and colors just were totally different than anything most of us could imagine. There's usually about 8 people on the workshop at a time. This next one is Tupper Lake, and just a fantastic sunset during this particular time. I did this one in Pano. I experiment with that, but I just love the long, skinny, narrow aspect of that light through that little foresty area in the back there. I think this one was taken at Heart Lake. The water was relatively still, but the contrast or the juxtaposition of the mountains going up in one direction and reflected in the bottom of the lake, et cetera, really just inspired me. I just love all aspects of this Adirondacks all throughout the year. I haven't gone back independently. I've always gone for the workshop, but it is a very nice place to photograph. This is another one at oh, I forget the name of that. No, I don't. This is the Bog River Dam, and very colorful there. And we actually got and walked through some of these rapids that you see coming down there. We're able to photograph quite a few different areas that take some boots up or something like that, and have some really fun, you know, timed exposures and just enjoying all the color. We also go out at night photographing the Milky Way. It was vertical this particular night, and in the background with the clouds is whatever city was close by at that particular time, the lights reflecting in the clouds. And I think the last one is just a little island in a lake. This was Pierceville, New York, and just love the little red singular tree that's standing all by itself in the center of that particular area. So, and that was the last image. So that would be my presentation. Thank you.
Thanks, Dutch. Sylvia next. You said Sylvia's there.
I thought I was next. Am Sharon next, or is there a Sylvia?
You have your presentation on there.
Yeah. I think if I did give it to him, I'm not sure where it is.
Jay, am I next? This is Sharon Brunner.
That was it, right?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
You can hear her.
Okay. Am I next, or is there a Sylvia?
No,
There you go.
that's what I did before. There it is.
There you go.
Okay. I can't hear them very well, so I can't come up with it. So if I just click on one to start?
Just double click on that. Yep. And then.
Hey, Bob,
We're gonna,
Yes.
I'm gonna drag it over. I have a mouse down here.
I don't know if anything can be done. The video here on our end is flickering a little bit.
Video's flickering.
We gotta figure it out. It wasn't, was it flickering when you were looking at the presentation or just when it's looking at the front?
Uh,
Everything.
Is the presentation flickering too?
yes, yes.
That's a technical difficulty that we're working on.
Okay.
Okay, okay,
Who is presenting now?
okay, I'll hold it. Can you hear me? I can hear me.
Put it up on your.
Yes.
Who is presenting now?
Okay, this was before the pandemic. I took a trip out west to Zion, a national park, Bryce National Park, and a few other places, but Zion and Bryce are where I have the photographs. This is just travel. You can see just traveling along the road, going through the park. Oh.
It's up there.
There you
go.
Okay, this is just another alongside of the road, little different terrain than we have here. One thing I had noticed in all the photographs is there's a lot of erosion going on. It was just surprising to me, but I guess everybody already knows that's what's happening. Now, which one are you saying to do?
Right arrow. This one, there you go. Now.
Okay, this is this is in Zion, and this is one of the trails that's called the Narrows. And this is the Virgin River where you can walk in it. And it's 16 miles. Eventually it'll get deep enough that you would actually be wading or swimming in it. Just the color changing. This is, what is this? This is Temple Cap Formation. This is still in Zion. You can see the different color of the rock formations. Now we're in Bryce. These photographs are taken from the road trail that you can take around the park. And they have the largest accumulation of hoodoos, which are formations that are formed from the weather, the extreme cold and heat, and the there's like 5 or 6 different soil types that make up the whole area. And this is still Bryce, but this is the remnants of a fire, but I don't know when the fire occurred, but I was there in 19, so it was before that. Just some more incredible formation. There you can sort of see the erosion, see where the trees are growing along the bottom. That's all, you know, soil that's coming down from up above. I thought this was interesting. It looks like a person carved face in there amongst the other hoodoos. I think there's again, here you can see the erosion going on in the background.
So,
This-
can
yeah.
you explain what a hoodoo is?
Oh, yes. A hoodoo is a sculpture, I guess, that forms from the extreme temperature differences that are in the area. In one day, they can have, well, like half of the year, they have in the same day, they'll have above temperatures, above freezing and below freezing. So that constant change is what is making the soil fall away. And then there's, like I said, 5 different types of soil that are making up the area. I don't know if you can see it here. Do I have a cursor anywhere?
Let me swing up for you. Hold on. Now you can see it.
The glare is really bad here.
Yes,
Anyway,
we see
there
it.
are kayakers down in the river. This is the Little Colorado River. This would be along the highway from the Grand Canyon to Flagstaff. But I can't see the kayakers here, but they're down there. That's it.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Who's next in the goggle word?
This is early September. Oh, I saw the kayak.
Thanks, Sylvia. Sylvia, you didn't take any, you didn't take any selfies and walk backwards up those cliffs, right? You're still with us. Who's here? Oh, Ivan, thank you.
So I'm Ivan Bubb, and I want to give you just a brief introduction to White Island, New Zealand. In I think it was December 2019, White Island exploded, massive eruption, and since then it's been closed to the public. No more tours, helicopter trips, boat trips. But we were fortunate enough to get there a while before the major eruption. In fact, it's White Island is the most active volcanic island in just above the North Island of New Zealand, and it is actually quite incredible to see. So I'm going to give you just a quick rundown how just some photographs to give you an idea of what it looks like, and let's see if I can get this working. Is that showing up now? Oh. So my daughter was studying at the University of in Auckland, and her my daughter, her boyfriend, his parents, and us went on this incredible journey to see this island. Okay, are we good now?
Yeah, you can do the right. Yes.
So this is us taking off from the beginning point. And I'm going to go fairly fast because there's quite a few slides, and when my time runs out, we'll stop. But this is just leaving the port to go towards the island. It was about an hour and a half boat ride, dolphins, and as you get closer to the island, they give you some helmets and they give you gas masks. It was a sulfur mine in the old days, and people actually lived there and were mining, but there'd been several eruptions. It was first discovered, I think Captain Cook described this island, and it was privately owned. There's my wife in the front. And so when we got to the island, and I'm going to go fairly fast, we're getting closer. They put you in little dinghies and they take you over to the island. And there we are on our way. There's the boat that we came with. You get up this old metal staircase, and these rocks were nice and pristine. If you ever go onto the YouTube video of the eruption, you'll see what it looked like afterwards, and all the magma and stuff came down, and all these rocks were covered. So many people got killed. I think there were 20-something people that were killed. There was about 40 or 50 people on the island at the time that it erupted. So this is some remnants of the old the sulfur mines. The only thing they told us was don't wear open shoes, and otherwise you're good, So you can see nice and clear, but there's some remnants. There's my daughter, and so she was explaining to us that you know how to put on your mask. And there's a very strong sulfur taste, so your throat actually burns if you don't wear the mask. There was no real paths. There was no guide rails. You just walked, and they showed us, but really dangerous. You can see some fresh debris there from the eruptions that had taken place just before we got there, and then the next day, in fact, it erupted again. But you can see some of the sulfur lines, and the fumes are really strong. Looked like some lunar landscape, and you can see these gullies. You could easily fall in because there's no, you just have to follow them. But couple of paths, and so we walked up onto this island, and I'm going to go fairly fast because you can get the idea. Everyone there that stop and tell us what's going on. But
Excuse me, is this just open to the public? or
It
was
was, you could take a tour. But since 2019, when they had this major upsets, there's been all kinds of, I mean, some people were never found, they were burned to death, and they're now no longer open to tours. So it was quite an experience to be walking in this terrain. It's not? No, no. There would be the workers in the 1800s or 1800s would, and early 1900s, I think, lived there because they were mining sulfur. And then, but this recent tour was, they were all tourists from a cruise ship that went on, and 40 or 50 people, and then this whole thing erupted, and it was just a disaster. But so this is what we were walking: fumes everywhere, molten lava, and smoke coming up everywhere. I mean, it was just incredible. And then we got, as we got closer in, we can see here, you can see this was all bubbling, and you standing right there, so you could easily, it's very dangerous. They said it, the newspaper said it was a disaster waiting to happen, this actual, and you can see us there. Yeah, that was the only thing they said, you know, and it's your own, you're going at your own risk, but we didn't realize that this is my family. And then, and so.
Did your mother even tell you not allowed to play there?
I mean, this is incredible, and I mean, you know, I'm surprised that there was just no, you know, nothing. It's just all natural, and
no special lens?
and you got to and you got to the edge of the crater. Again, you could stand there and you could fall in as easily as that's the edge of the crater, and there's looking down at the crater. That was all the main area of the active volcano. As you can see, there's no safety guidelines. So
that's what you do for fun.
it was crazy. I mean, but it was one of the best experiences in my life. Now these things were all bubbling. These, and you could see it was very hot, molten. There you can see some of the activity. And we're walking around there. So you're actually quite a long way from the edge of the crater. So when that crater erupted, these people were probably somewhere between there and where we started. And looking down.
Did you took your daughter there, or she took you?
She decided, she's a mountain climber and adventurous, and she said, "You got to go to this island. It's great, you know." So we went, and it was an experience, I must say. And then we headed back after again. But you can see people had to walk over. You had to like jump over these molten. And
You didn't do selective color or anything.
No.
But
this is what it looked like. And then we got, yeah. So, right. And then we got more or less, this is like the end. We could see some of the old buildings near the water. So we took some photos there. And got back on our boat. And so let me just see. I don't know if I have any photos. Right, so that was basically, that was the book on the boat that we saw. These are some of the earlier photos of, yeah. I don't know if there's a picture of, so this is where it is actually. This is the North Island, that's the South Island, and it was up there. And I may have a photo here of what it looked like afterwards. White Island is there. These are some of the early ones. But I don't think I think that's about it. Yeah, I had a PowerPoint presentation that unfortunately doesn't work with the PC, so I could have shown. But if you go online and have a look on the YouTube, just look at the YouTube video of the eruption. And you'll see it's really frightening. So one has to be a little careful when you go on your photographic journeys. But but this was a good lesson to me that, you know, always wear closed shoes. So thank you.
Bob, is there anybody else at the Gavel Works?
think Tom Story's next, isn't he? Or am I? Oh, looks like
Hello.
you're gonna,
Tom Story's next unless there's somebody at the Goggle Works. Or Bill, whatever.
hold it. Who's next?
I'll go.
Come
All
up.
right, I'm gonna share my screen.
Go ahead, Tom.
Yep. Tom's gonna share his screen.
Oops, go away.
Everybody is going to see what.
Can you see that?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, we just got back last week from almost 2 weeks going from Orkney, which is the very northern part of Scotland. You can see in the map on the left. Orkney Islands are up here, and then we journeyed by boat down along the northern coast of Scotland and down all the way into what are called the inner islands, the inner Hebrides Islands, which are Skye and Mull and several others. We ended up in Oban. It's really a wonderful trip. We enjoy going on the water. So a little bit about why Scotland, Orkney, and the inner islands. We particularly enjoy the interface between the sea and the land, and islands are, of course, a perfect interface for that, and along with the north coast of Scotland, which is really rugged. The other thing we enjoyed was the hardy people and the environment in which they're living in. They're hardy because it's a tough environment. And it's also wild and very beautiful, and it's quite a mix. We enjoy being on the water, and so we have done a fair amount of boat travel. You get a different perspective on things, but also to say you can travel up there by car also. One note, most of the roads up there are single lane, and you have pullouts every half a kilometer or so, but that's what you end up going through up there. And then there's a lot of locks, sea locks and fjords. So it's a long trip by car, but it's you see much of the same scenery. This is a picture on the Isle of Mull, which is one of the lower inner Hebrides Islands. It's a beautiful little town built around a harbor. And it's quite an interesting place. We started up in Kirkwall, which is the main city up in Orkney. It's probably a city of only about 10,000 or so. There is a cathedral there. That's the St. Magnus Cathedral. It was started in the 1100s. It was finished in the 1400s, I believe. And it's built out of the local sandstone and other rocks. It's quite beautiful. So we get quite an interesting mix of the people and the wildness of the place. You actually just turn around from the cathedral and go down about a block and you're at the harbor, which is this picture here. And if you look up beyond the harbor there on the hill, it's a fairly tall hill. It's about almost 1,000 feet, but you notice there are no trees. There are very, very few trees on Orkney. The environment is very windy and stormy, and trees don't hold up very well. Then we left Kirkwall as our starting point, and that just gives you a little bit of view. The islands are mostly kind of rounded and flat. But the interesting thing is there are settlements, there are archaeological sites in these islands that are 4,000 and 5,000 years old. It's quite an interesting place. Just a little bit of a view. Typical scenery as you go along these islands. They're very rolling and flat, but they're also quite green. And you see the heather. We were at prime time for the heather in the background. You'll see much more of that here in this picture. It's a beautiful time of year there. This was the southern island, I believe, Hoy, which is actually one of the highest islands, and I think it goes up about 1,000, 1,500 feet. Mostly they're low and rolling. A little bit of the view of living on an island. There's quite a few lonely, lonesome, and sometimes ruined cottages on this island, or on the north part of Scotland. It's a tough existence. This is about a 500-foot structure. It's called the Old Man of Hoy. Hoy is the island, and this is off the western edge of the island. And it's quite impressive as you go by it. It's a favorite climbing place for people to try and get up to the top of this. But it's been there a while. It's very interesting. The other thing we enjoy are the seabirds and the other wildlife, the marine wildlife. This is a fulmar, F-U-L-M-A-R. We don't have them around here. They're kind of unique. You see there's kind of on their nose, there's a tube coming out. They excrete excess salt out through that tube, and they can also spray nasty stuff on things that they don't want to get near. But they're beautiful birds to watch fly. Another seabird that we don't have here is a gannet. These are big seabirds. They're probably 4 or 5 foot wingspan, and they're amazing flyers, and they plunge into the water to fish. I mean, straight down. They'll be up 50, 100 feet, and they just go straight down. But they're beautiful birds to watch. This is a cormorant getting going. They're also fun to watch as they run. They run to get up to speed on top of the water and then gradually lift off. The other marine life we enjoyed were the dolphins. We had a couple of days where we could really focus on the dolphins because the sea was pretty flat. If it's choppy, they're very hard to pick out. But we had a couple of days where we had some really nice dolphin spotting, and several groups of dolphins came by, and they're pretty playful. Another one.
He's on a boat taking that photograph.
Well, I didn't hear the question.
Were you on a boat?
Yes, we were on a small boat. It was about 80 feet long, 80 to 90 feet long. There were 14 guests and 4 crew. And so we were out in the water pretty much for 10 days. We occasionally come in and have walks and visit little settlements along the way or do some nature walks. But most of the time we were on the water. It's also, besides having some very ancient historical sites on Orkney, it's also during World War I and World War II, Scapa Flow, which is a big area between several islands, was the center of the Northern Fleet, British fleet. So there was a major installation there. And this is a little chapel that was built by Italian prisoners who were there, I guess helping keep the base working to some degree. But this is the front of the chapel, and it's actually 2 Quonset huts, 2 semicircular huts in a row back behind here, joined together. And the Italian prisoners built this. This is the inside. You take a look at it and notice the tile work and everything else. It was all done. This is inside a Quonset hut. They've maintained it ever since the 1940s. And then you take a closer look and you realize they didn't have any tile. It's all painted. And this is an example. All that you see there on the walls and everywhere was painted by the Italian prisoners. It was pretty interesting and a beautiful little place. These are typical of a couple settlements that you see on the island. This is Stromness. Usually the towns are built right along the water, and they're pretty rugged. We were there at a kind of a nice time of year. It can get pretty windy, stormy, and don't know that you would want to spend a winter there, but it's nice. Now we're getting to the Northern Highlands of Scotland. There are some pretty impressive geologic features. I forgot which mountain or bend, they call them bends, and I can't remember which one this one, but it was 3,000 or 4,000 feet tall. It kind of just goes straight up. It was just some beautiful, beautiful scenery. This is typical of the small towns you see along as you come down the coast. Picturesque little villages. You can walk right along. If you know, I don't know, can you see the pointer on the screen?
Yep.
Yes.
You see this little funny looking tree here and here? Those are actually palm trees. They never get that cold because they're in the Gulf Stream, I guess, comes up and around and down. And they get cold, but they don't get cold enough to freeze out palm trees. So he likes to see palm trees.
Tom, I hate to cut you off, but you're over your 5 minutes.
Okay, I only got a couple more, just a couple quick pictures.
Okay, go ahead.
And here's the last one. So we ended with some beautiful sunsets. This is Tobermory again, and this was just evening on the boat. And that's it.
Thanks, Tom. That was awesome.
We really enjoyed it. If you ever get a chance to go up in northern Scotland, I would encourage you to do it.
Yeah, we loved Scotland. We were down in the south, Edinburgh, St. Andrews, the little fishing villages on the west coast. We loved it.
Yeah.
It's one of those trips I guess you gotta go on when you retire. 2 weeks, man. That's great.
Yeah, yeah. It's 10 days and it took us a couple days to get there and a couple days to get back. So
Yeah. Was it cold?
No.
no, unusually, well, we expected to be in the low 60s and around 50 at night, but it was actually a little warmer than that. We had some pretty sunny days, which we didn't expect.
Yeah, like a once in a lifetime trip.
Yeah.
All right, well, is Sharon there? Sharon Bruner.
I am.
All right,
I
Sharon.
can start to share my screen. I'm not going to talk for this whole thing. I'm just going to let everyone see what I have, and I'm going to start showing it now. Hopefully this all goes the way it's supposed to. If I can get this to play. So this is Maine, which is where I spend half of my year at this point. I'm up in the down east section of Maine. And I have a house here now, and this is where I love to spend my time. So I'm going to let everything just play from here. And if anybody has any questions, they can ask me, but this is the lake that I live right off of up in Maine. And you'll see a lot of pictures of this.
What lake is that?
This is called West Grand Lake, and we live on a stream called Grand Lake Stream, and in the town of Grand Lake Stream. So most of the pictures are taken in Grand Lake Stream. There will be some in Baxter State Park with Mount Katahdin. But just some of the views that I have daily up here. And I am up here right now. I'm up in Maine right now. Kayaking, I take a lot of my pictures while I kayak. There's a lot of fishing camps. This is one of them, and that's the view at the end of the lake. A lot of perfect examples of still shots that I find up here. Blue flags. Lupins abound. Balsam fir, which I never knew they had purple pine cones when they first come out. And as I'm kayaking, sometimes I will find things that just astonish me. The birds in my front yard. Oh, it's a spruce grouse, which lets you get very close to them. This is Mount Katahdin, the highest peak in Maine, the end of the Appalachian Trail. Yes, I have climbed it. These were all taken on a time that I climbed to the top of this. And this is seeing the back of Mount Katahdin. And the view from the top of the mountain. The knife edge, people do walk on that. And this is down towards Acadia. Campobello Island, which is right across from Lubec, and this is in Lubec. This is in Eastport, I'm sorry, looking over. The West Quaddy Head Lighthouse. And then the coastline. It's the start of the Bay of Fundy. And I just love the differences with all of the weather changes up here. Going into fall, this is the stream that I live on. This is West Grand Lake, or Grand Lake Stream, and it is known for its fly fishing. People come from all over to fish the stream, and this is where my husband taught my granddaughter how to fly fish. And she's catching a little lock salmon here. The end of the stream, going into another lake. And this picture came up twice, sorry about that. Blueberry fields in the fall. From the forest. And the autumn. The colors are astounding. I love the autumn up here. And the other thing is the sunsets that we have. And ending with the same picture that I started with, only at sunset. And thank you for allowing me to share them.
Thanks, Sharon.
You're welcome.
I love Maine. All right, Cheryl, where's Cheryl at?
I'm
Hold on
here.
here.
All right, Cheryl's
Can you hear me?
Yep. You're next, Cheryl.
Are you seeing it?
Yeah.
Okay, my exotic places take me within, mostly within 30 minutes of Berks County, although I have been to Scotland and I love those pictures of Maine. Our son lives up there. Most of you, or a lot of you in the Reading area, have been to the Heritage Center. Over the 30 years we've lived here, I have several thousand pictures. I love going down here. In the recent years, they moved the Epler Schoolhouse there. There's the Disselfink, the Gruber Wagon Works, and of course, the Red Bridge, the Wirtz Bridge. It's the longest single span covered bridge in Pennsylvania, 218 feet long. The walk path there is called the Union Canal. And if you saw the article in the paper, the bats are back for the bridge, which is actually good news. I probably have 100 pictures of the Gruber Wagon Works. This one was taken in infrared. Just within a mile from there is Grings Mill. Again, this is one of those places I go to at least twice a month in the different seasons. I never get tired of walking around there. I love it after a freshly fallen snow. Now, this is one of the you must see places when you're in the east, specifically in Hamilton Township, New Jersey. This is called the Grounds for Sculpture. Ivan and I have been there a couple of times. I think Vince Pellegrini went there. There are 300 sculptures. This is on the grounds of the former New Jersey Fairgrounds. This particular sculpture was actually on loan to the Reading Museum for a couple of months. I love this setting. This was also an infrared shot that I did. When you walk around there, it's on 42 acres, and some of it's set in back in trees and stuff. So it's easy to miss if you don't have a map. There's some huge sculptures, and I'll show you one coming up here. Those are probably about 30 foot tall. Now, if you look at this, you can see Ivan Bulb. He's about 6 foot tall. So you can see how tall those particular sculptures are. Again, it's a wonderful place. One of those places that you could go back every year. And I think Ivan, again, was back. Another place that's really interesting is the Hershey Gardens, the Butterfly Atrium. It's only one of 25 indoor atriums in the country. Excuse me. One word of warning, when Ivan and I went there, for the first 10 minutes we were in there, we had to wipe down our lenses. We couldn't take any photos. It was so humid. Typically, when they're busy, they might limit you to 20 minutes, but they weren't busy. So Ivan and I could stay as long as we wanted. Another spot within an hour is Kiwanis Lake in the middle of York, Pennsylvania. In April, late March, early April, the egrets. It's only one of 2 egret rookeries in Pennsylvania. You can practice your bird and flight photography. Of course, egrets are typically small flyers, so it's not a gigantic challenge, but they're just beautiful birds. And of course, Middle Creek Wildlife Management Area. You have to go there at least once to see the several 100,000 snow geese when they take off. Even though I'm hard of hearing, the sound just gets to you. Caution, there's almost as many photographers as there are visitors. So just prepare. I go there early, like 5:15 in the morning. And of course, Blue Marsh. Beautiful in the fall. I have 30 seconds, so I'm going to whip through these. Lake Onalani near Leesport. The Graffiti Bridge, which is on the other side, the north side of the lake. Stoutburg Village in Adamstown. This was patterned after Eastern European town, where the vendors would have their shops on the bottom and they would live up top. But it really hasn't taken off all that much. And I see I just hit the 5-minute mark. So the Velodrome, Rolls-Royce Museum, and of course, Eastern State Penitentiary in Philadelphia, another must-see. That's Al Capone's private room. And that's it. Boy, 5 minutes goes fast.
Those are great ideas for outings for our club too. We'll have to
And
make-
you know, in 2021, last year, I visited a lot of places that I hadn't been to in a long time. St. Peter's Village, the Cloister at Ephrata. There's just so many great, beautiful places to visit. Thank you.
Thanks, Bill. Cheryl, are you ready to go?
Iceland's up.
Who's
Iceland.
who's with Iceland? Who has Iceland up on this? Who's sharing their screen?
Can you hear me?
Okay, is that you, Cheryl?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
One second.
Good evening. I've chosen two of my favorite places that I've taken photographs at. By far, my number one place is Iceland. Iceland was just full of these breathtaking mountain ranges, waterfalls, and glaciers. One of the most memorable experiences from this trip was hiking the Fimmvörðuháls, not sure if I'm pronouncing that right, which is a pass between two glaciers, one of which was over a volcano that erupted in 2010. There's a scene in The Secret Life of Walter Mitty where a volcano erupts, and it's based off of that. We got to the start of the trail by way of a jeep, and it went over some tough terrain and a few rivers. On the trail, there was this extremely narrow path, which was aptly named the Cat's Spine. We went in a single file line across this, and I just prayed I didn't fall. As we trekked along, we came across this open clearing where we could see both of the glaciers. It was just an amazing thing to see. Another cool part of the hike was when we went through these lava fields, which was vastly different from the rest of the trail, just full of volcanic ash. And it was just nice. It was interesting to see the sun just shining on it. The second place I wanted to show you is from my trip to Morocco. One of the cities we visited was Chefchaouen in the northwest, and the whole city was colored in blue, in various shades of blue, which happens to be my favorite color. The shades of blue represent the color of the Mediterranean Sea. It was fascinating to explore the city. There were so many stray cats just hanging about. I just had to take a photo, and the mix with the colors was really cool. This city was vastly different from Fez, another city we traveled to, which felt a lot like Aladdin. There are so many bazaars with multiple stalls and stores selling a number of different things, from dishware to tapestry to furniture. Both of these places were filled with wonder, and I encourage you to go visit them.
Are you all finished, Cheryl?
Yes.
Okay. Next on the list is Lee Reeves. Lee, how are you?
I'm good.
All right.
So Tom stole some of my stuff, so there might be a bit of redundancy here.
Okay.
We're away for 6 weeks and I've got 5 minutes to show you, so I'm going to motor on through. Okay, is that good?
Yes.
Okay, well, we also went on a cruise with Vince and Susie Pellegrini from Glasgow to Belfast, Isle of Man, up to Oban, Fort William, the Outer Hebrides, the Shetland, Orkney, and then across to Bergen. Unfortunately, I can't manage Google Maps well enough to show the boat trip, so you'll just have to imagine it. Great. Okay, we started in Glasgow. I did some of my training in Glasgow next to the Glasgow Cathedral. This is the interior of it. My ward in the hospital overlooked the cemetery associated with the cathedral. I'm not sure what that did to the patient's morale. We then went to Glasgow and I lost to Belfast and I lost all the photos. So now we're on the Isle of Man and they had this beautiful little railway, and my wife took this photo with the figure just emerging through the smoke. This is some photos from the Isle of Man. Thatched cottages, really charming inside. These are the biggest horses I've ever seen, but very nice eyes, and really weird sheep with 4 horns. And that's the castle. We then went up one of the many sea locks. This is Loch Linney, and this is the famous Glenfinnan Viaduct with the Harry Potter train crossing it. This is Tobermory on Mull, which Tom showed you. These are some waterfalls on the island. This is a dolphin that I managed to catch in midair, and you can see the multiple scars on its body. This is on the Isle of Lewis in the Outer Hebrides. This stone, the stones of Callanish, are thought to be over 4,000 years old. Well, the stones are older, but they've been in this position for 4,000 years. This is Fair Isle, and this was kind of the reason for me going, was to see these birds, the puffins, and they are just so fun.
Mm.
And weird looking. This guy looks as if he's checking the weather before he takes off. And they live in burrows and are not afraid of people. This is a gannet, and this is the one of the lighthouses on Fair Isle. We're up to Shetland now, and this is the main town. Some of the scenery, some of the birds. We then went across to Norway and took train trips from Bergen, which is down on the lower left, to Oslo, the capital, and then right up to Bodø, which is B-O-D-O, up in the north. And from there and this is some of the photos from the train. The train trips are absolutely astounding. And then from Bodø, we took a ferry across to the Lofoten Peninsula, which is just a fantastic place for photography. These are fish racks, and there are hundreds of thousands of cod's heads drying and smelling. This is the port at Svolvær. And I'm just going to go through some scenes. I don't know and can't pronounce the names of the places we were at. We chased this moose till midnight. This is the midnight. This is just before midnight. This is the midnight sun. And the midnight sun casts an interesting reddish tinge over everything. And I call this photo Midnight Mass because it was taken at midnight, although I don't think they're having mass. This is a Slavonian grebe. This is probably the most photographed place on the Lofoten. And they even have beaches right up there, which surprised me. Well, not the beach, but the people swimming. A lapwing, plover, red shank. Another midnight sun. This is Trondheim, a major city in the north of Norway, and they had this umbrella exhibition, or installation, which I thought was amazing. This is another photo of Trondheim. This is the Trondheim Cathedral, and this is a magnificent organ inside with an even more magnificent stained glass window. This is Oslo. This is the Oslo Opera House. These are the Royal Gardens. This is a sculpture park, the Big Lag Sculpture Park, which is incredible. There's just hundreds and hundreds of stone and bronze statues. This is the Royal Guard at the palace. We then went off to Svalbard, which is right up north of Norway. It's part of Norway. It's about 1,000 miles from the North Pole. That was about the only blue sky we saw the whole time. The main or the only town is called Longyearbyen, and it's an old coal mining town, and there are still remnants of the coal fields. Incredible mountain and snow scenery. Beautiful purple saxifrage everywhere. This is an Arctic fox, which is halfway between its lovely white winter coat and its brown summer coat, and it's looking pretty mangy. These are skulls from beluga whales. It used to be a beluga whaling settlement. This is a hunter's hut. This is a walrus, which probably vies for the ugliest animal in the world title. This is a bearded seal pup. Couple of reindeer, long-tailed duck. This is a Arctic tern, which was attacking everyone that flew past. So I held my camera up and just put it on rapid fire. This is obviously a train from the old coal mining times. It just looked good in black and white. Now, I don't know whether you can see in the middle on the left, but there's a polar bear. Now, this was taken with about a 500mm lens, so you can tell we didn't get very close. But I was able to, in post-production, zoom up a bit. That's our boat. You can probably see the bear has captured a seabird for a snack. They seem to be very playful. They just love being in the snow and rolling around. This is some of the old infrastructure from the mines. It's a winding cable area. The town of Longyearbyen has a population of about 2,000, but when 8 cruise ships all come in at once, the population gets up to about 6,000. That's an eider, a king eider duck, which was weird but beautiful. This is an Arctic skewer. There's a fox in there. It's a bit Where's Waldo, but if you can see the fox, it's another Arctic fox. Another reindeer looking for Santa Claus. This is a rock ptarmigan. It pulls the feathers off the front of its chest to make a nest. And so when at the end of the nesting season, it's quite bare-chested. Vince said it's what Italians have been doing for years. Pulling their hair off their chest. This little guy must have just got a bit of lichen, I think. He must be hungry. And now these are just a few random duck photos, which I thought, oh, and there's somebody you might know. This is on the Isle of Mull, which he loved. This is a porpoise, which I don't know whether you can see on its upper bill has a little bit of plastic, and it spit it out. And I just quite accidentally got this incredible photo, I think anyway, of the splash and the plastic being ejected. That's it. Thank you.
Lee, those were some fantastic images. Quite neat.
Thank you.
Love the animal shots and the
Fish were
bird shots.
drying. It's amazing that the birds don't just go and eat them. Up in the air.
Okay, next up we have Tracy Lay. Tracy, you ready to go?
I think so. I don't have a whole lot. I just have a couple photos. I'm gonna be way under the 5-minute mark. I couldn't decide what to pick, and so let me try to, let's see, screen share, and let's see. Okay, this is just one of my favorite places. My in-laws live in Vero Beach, Florida. And these are just iPhone photos from Vero Beach. And so I just have a few of them. I couldn't, oh,
Tracy, can you double click on it?
Yeah, make
I
it,
double click?
yeah, make it large.
Is that better?
Always, well, you might, all we see are the 5 thumbnails, and you may have, when you did share screen, you may have clicked the wrong window. I don't know.
I may have clicked the wrong window. Okay,
Always,
let me,
you might want to unshare. and then,
okay. New share.
If you double click on your one image, do you have them all? Oh, there we go.
Is that better?
That's
Yeah.
better.
Okay.
What do you think, Bob? Can you make it larger on your screen? Tracy?
Can I make it larger?
It's
Uh,
fine here, guys.
okay,
Yep, good.
all right,
Is
good.
that all right?
Yep,
Okay. So just a few from Vero Beach, and this is where my in-laws live, and I get photos from Vero Beach every morning. My father-in-law sends us pictures from Vero Beach every morning and a few times a year. Well, this past year it was a few times. Sometimes it's only once a year. I'm fortunate enough to go visit the beach with him, and I really enjoy taking pictures of the beach. Sometimes they have the shells just come up, and it's always a an experience to have the pictures of the beach. This was one of my favorite pictures of, oh, yeah, that's not coming up too well. But this was one of my favorite pictures of the beach that has kind of the rose in the foreground. One of the days when we went to the beach, we just saw this rose laying on the beach. One of the guys there's a group of people who go down to the beach every morning, and one of the guys said that was a short romance. So I kind of like to think of this as a short romance photo. And this is one that my mother-in-law really liked, and so I made a copy for her, and she has this one framed. And then another one, another morning, there were these jellyfish that were on the beach, and I liked how the sun reflected on the jellyfish, and kind of made it look glassy, look kind of like some glass with the pier in the background. And then the other one also, another one of the shells with a couple people on the beach and the pier in the background. Looks kind of skewed with it's a wide angle photo with just the close up of the shells. And then on the way back from the beach, there was a really pretty picture of a flower that and these are tropical flowers. They don't grow around here, but they grow in Florida and some other places. And I kind of just picked, I wasn't sure how many. I thought somebody said like 5 to 10 photos. So I just went with the 5 photos from Vero. I was kind of some of my favorite places also are Longwood Gardens and Blue Marsh, Middle Creek, and the Jersey Shore. But I couldn't decide, so I thought I'd just keep it simple and pick some pictures from Vero Beach. So that's all I've got. Thanks for
beautiful.
listening.
How often do you go to Vero Beach, and are you going to move there?
We go to Vero Beach. This past year, I was able to go 3 times. I was able to go at Christmas and then at Easter, and once with my sister-in-laws that we did a girls' trip. So we just went down to see my mother-in-law. And I don't know. I think there's a good possibility that we might move we are planning to eventually move to Florida. And a good chance we'll end up in Vero, because that's where my mother-in-law and father-in-law are. So, yeah.
All right, well, I'm going to go next as a bonus for everybody. We have a couple minutes left, so I'm going to go ahead and share. I'm going to the opposite end of the East Coast. I'm going to go back to where Sharon took us, to Maine. And my wife and I love going to Maine, and I've been going there for about 15 years. I started going there about 15 years ago, and probably in the last 10 years or so, I've gone a lot to the Maine photographic workshops, the Maine media workshops. So I'm going to share my screen if I can find it here. And let's see. There's a saying in Maine, it's the way life should be. Is that showing up okay for everybody?
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, I love going to Maine. I love the country and I love the scenery and the fall color and just the beauty of Maine. And I'm also a cool weather person. I can never live in Florida, even though it's beautiful. So I'm just gonna go through. I don't have a whole bunch of photos, but I'm gonna show some of mine that I've taken various years going up to Maine. Sharon showed you images from more inland Maine near Mount Katahdin, and because the main media workshops is along the coast, kind of mid-coast, and in Camden Rockport area, that's where a lot of my pictures are from, although I have ventured out to other areas too. So this is in Rockport, Maine, right where the workshops is. And I always try, no matter what my workshop is, some of the workshops I've gone on have been travel workshops, but not always. I've also taken a lot of alternative photographic printing workshops using historical processes to print photographs. And then I try to always leave a couple days where I can travel out on my own. Okay. And yeah, these are macro flowers from Maine. The more macro flowers from Maine. Close-ups. Many of these are from a workshops that I've taken in Maine, and others are just on my own, going around on my own. And this is way up the coast near Lubec, Maine. Lots of neat little nooks and crannies in Maine. That's one of the things I really love about it. Little towns, little villages. There's a lot of rustic charm to Maine, and just love it when I come across a place like this. And this is popular Acadia, Maine. This is a popular Rockland lighthouse. And that's just right outside of a place I was staying at. I saw some ferns and shot a couple photos. This is a really neat place to go to, Pemaquid Point. That's the lighthouse that's there, but the scenery looking out into the ocean, I should have a picture of that, but I don't. Just a beautiful, beautiful spot to sit on the rocks and enjoy the ocean breezes. Beautiful, beautiful location right on the coast. So many neat ports and places in Maine. And I'm just scratching the surface here. There's tons more I could show you. And that's it, folks. So that's the end of our presentation. Anybody have any questions or things they would like to share for anybody? Any questions for anybody who presented?
This was fun.
Good.
There's some things in the chat, Jay. Can you check that for us?
Talk in the mic.
Jay, there's some things in the chat. I can't see them from here.
Yeah, there's Bill just said it was fun. Great photos, everyone. That was pretty much it. Tracy said thank you. Yeah, I think this was a good idea. I really like the variety of locations. So hopefully we can do this again in the future, maybe next year.
I think it's a good way to come back from the summer.
Yeah.
I didn't travel, so I was more like Bill, just right around the corner. There's a lot of places to photograph around here, but I'm just jealous of people that go to Scotland for 6 weeks.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Iceland, exploding volcanoes, New Zealand. I quit. Yeah, Delaware, Pennsylvania. No, we Wilmington. I think Vince does have an outing to a strip mine. So that's right up Ivan's alley. Some big equipment up there. So check your newsletter. We are going to do that outing. And hopefully we have a couple workshops lined up in the fall and in the winter too. So, watch the newsletter. Anybody else have any comments, questions? Exciting things happening? No?
I'm with you, Bob. I think it was great.
When do we have the second meeting?
Oh, there is one next week.
The third Monday. Yeah. So
Come here to watch it. But
yeah, it'll be a guest speaker. So we will be meeting the third Monday. And then we get back onto our, first and the third Monday in October. And we are going to have a special speaker too in October. So watch for that on our third Monday. Anybody else have any announcements?
Yeah, thank you to everybody who shared. Thank you very much. It was nice having your contribution and seeing where you took us.
And everybody who visited us through Zoom, we are working on the flicker problem. So we are aware of that. And I think you did have it fixed, Kim, and it's back again. Oh, okay. So we're working on that. We're working on that. Yes. So I think that's a wrap for tonight. And hopefully everybody can join us here or back in Zoom. And thanks for the patience with the technical difficulties. Any other announcements? All right. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Safe trip home. I'll see you next week.
Ciao.
Bye, everybody.